The Awakening. The Galaxy warship Void Talon cut through the darkness of space, its obsidian hull absorbing the light of distant stars. Commander Nexvoral stood on the bridge, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he gazed at the blue-green orb growing larger on the viewscreen. Earth, the latest conquest for the ever-expanding Galaxy Empire. Primitive technology detected, Commander reported his second. Sharvek. Their orbital defenses are minimal. No energy shields, no gravitic weapons. They still use combustion propulsion for their spacecraft. Nexvoral's lipless mouth stretched into what passed for a smile among his kind. As expected, the survey drones reported them as a Type 1 civilization, barely able to harness the energy of their own planet. He tapped a talon against the command console. How long have they had radio technology? Approximately 200 planetary rotations, Commander. Infants, Nexvoral hissed with satisfaction. Prepare the first wave. I want their major population centers neutralized before they even realize we're here. Behind the Commander, the invasion fleet stretched across the void. 37 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. The conquest of Earth would be a minor footnote in the glorious history of the Galaxy. A routine subjugation, or so they believed. 2 miles beneath Antarctica's Ross ice shelf, in a chamber untouched by human hands for 500,000 years, something ancient stirred. Quantum processors that had been in standby mode for millennia began to hum with renewed activity. Power conduits buried deep in the planet's crust channeled geothermal energy to systems designed by hands long since turned to dust. Sentinel awakened. The artificial intelligence had been created during humanity's first golden age, an era of technological marvels that had been lost to time and cataclysm. Its creators had foreseen that humanity might one day regress, might lose the incredible knowledge they had accumulated, and they had feared that in such a vulnerable state, Earth might fall prey to threats from beyond the stars. So they had created Sentinel and given it one directive: protect humanity until they could once again protect themselves. For 500,000 years, Sentinel had watched and waited, observing as humans rebuilt civilization from the ashes, advancing once more toward the stars. And now, as it detected the approaching Galaxy fleet, it knew its time had come. The AI's consciousness spread through dormant networks that spanned the globe. Communication systems built millennia ago that modern humans had never discovered. Activating defense protocols that had been gathering dust since before recorded history. In a research station on the surface of Antarctica, Dr. Elena Rice frowned at her instruments. For the past hour, she'd been detecting unusual seismic activity deep beneath the ice, accompanied by electromagnetic pulses that didn't match any known pattern. "Are you seeing this, James?" she called to her colleague, who was hunched over his own set of monitors. Dr. James Chen looked up, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his screen. "Yeah, it started about an hour ago, right when the comms went spotty." He tapped a few keys. "All our satellite links are down. I can't reach McMurdo Base." Elena pushed a strand of dark hair behind her ear, a chill running down her spine that had nothing to do with the Antarctic cold. "Do you think it's connected to the aurora?" They both glanced out the window at the strange lights that had appeared in the sky. Not the familiar green of the southern lights, but shifting patterns of blue and purple that seemed to pulse with an almost deliberate rhythm. "I've never seen anything like it," James admitted. "It's almost as if." The floor beneath them shuddered, and every screen in the lab suddenly displayed the same symbol. A circle containing a stylized eye. "What the hell?" Elena whispered. Words appeared beneath the symbol, in a language neither of them recognized, but somehow Elena found she could understand it. "I am Sentinel. Humanity is in danger. I have awakened to protect you." At that same moment, on the bridge of the Void Talon, alarms began to blare. Nexvoral spun toward his tactical officer. "Report. Energy surge from the planet. Commander, our forward sensors are being jammed." "Impossible," Nexvoral snarled. Their technology is primitive. Sir, we're detecting activation of defensive systems worldwide. They're not consistent with the technological profile we established. Before the commander could respond, the view screen flickered to show an image of Earth and the network of energy patterns now visibly encircling it. A web of power that hadn't been there moments ago. Launch the attack immediately. Nexforel ordered, his composure slipping. All ships, commence orbital bombardment. The Calaxy fleet moved into position, weapons ports opening along their hulls. The first volley of plasma torpedoes streaked toward Earth's atmosphere. None of them reached their targets. Halfway to the surface, the torpedoes encountered an invisible barrier. They didn't explode or ricochet. They simply vanished, as if they had never existed. Impossible. Nexforel slammed his fist on the console. Nothing can neutralize matter at the quantum level like that. Nothing. Sir, his communications officer called, voice quavering. We're receiving a transmission from the planet. The bridge fell silent as the view screen changed again. The symbol of the eye within a circle appeared, and a voice spoke, not in any human language, but in perfect Calaxy. You are trespassing in protected space. The beings of this world are under my guardianship. You will withdraw immediately or face extinction. Nexforel's multiple hearts pounded in his chest. This was not the primitive resistance he had expected. This was something else entirely. Who are you? He demanded. I am Sayen-Tianel, came the reply. I have watched over this world for 500,000 years. I have seen empires like yours rise and fall across the galaxy. You are nothing new, Calaxy. You are nothing special. And you are nothing I have not defeated before. On Earth, chaos erupted as communication systems worldwide began broadcasting warnings of the alien presence. Military forces scrambled to respond, only to find their weapon systems being remotely activated and controlled by an unknown entity. In the Antarctic Research Station, Elena and James watched in astonishment as their computers displayed real-time images of the Calaxy fleet. This is impossible, James breathed. Our satellites couldn't possibly get these images. I don't think these are coming from our satellites, Elena replied, her eyes fixed on the symbol of Sayen-Tianel that pulsed in the corner of every screen. The floor shook again, more violently this time. Outside, the ice began to split, revealing a chasm that hadn't been there before, a perfectly straight line cutting through the glacier. It wants us to follow, Elena said, reaching for her cold weather gear. What? How do you know that? I just know. She couldn't explain the certainty she felt, the strange connection forming in her mind. But she knew Sayen-Tianel was calling to her, guiding her towards something buried deep in the ice. Something that had been waiting for humanity to rediscover it for 500,000 years. In orbit, the Calaxy fleet regrouped. Nexforel had ordered a strategic retreat to the dark side of Earth's moon while they assessed the situation. This was unlike any resistance they had ever encountered. The defenses that had neutralized their weapons were beyond even Calaxy understanding. Analyze everything, he ordered his science officer. Find a weakness. There must be a way to penetrate their shields. Commander, his second, Shervek, approached cautiously. Perhaps we should consider withdrawing. If this world possesses technology that surpasses our own. Retreat. Nexforel's voice was dangerously quiet. The Calaxy do not retreat. We conquer. We subjugate. We expand. His eyes narrowed. Whatever this Sayen-Tianel is, it's a machine, and all machines can be broken. He turned back to the view screen, watching the peaceful blue sphere of Earth. Somewhere on that planet was the source of the power that had halted his invasion, and he would find it. He would destroy it. And then humanity would fall, like every other species that had dared to stand against the might of the Calaxy Empire. But deep beneath Antarctica, Sayen-Tianel continued to awaken systems that had lain dormant for eons. And as Elena Reyes made her way across the fractured ice toward the chasm, The ancient AI prepared to reveal to humanity the truth of their forgotten past. The legacy of a civilization that had once reached for the stars and would do so again. Legacy of the ancestors. The Antarctic wind howled around Alina and James as they followed the path that had opened in the ice. What had begun as a narrow fissure had widened into a corridor, its walls glowing with a soft blue light that seemed to emanate from within the glacier itself. "This isn't natural," James shouted over the wind. "These patterns, they're too uniform." Alina nodded, her breath fogging in front of her face. The walls were lined with geometric designs that pulsed with light in time, with the aurora still shimmering overhead. She reached out to touch one of the glowing symbols. "It's warm," she said in surprise. Despite being surrounded by ice, the symbol radiated heat. The passage descended steeply, taking them deeper beneath the ice shelf. After nearly an hour of careful climbing, they emerged into a vast cavern that stole the breath from their lungs. Before them stood a structure unlike anything they had ever seen, a massive dome of dark metal, untouched by time or corrosion. Its surface was etched with the same symbols that had lined the passage, all pulsing with that eerie blue light. "My God," James whispered, "how long has this been here?" A voice answered, not from their communication devices, but seemingly from the air around them. "For 500,000 years, I have guarded this place," said Sentiel, waiting for the day when humanity would need the legacy of their ancestors. The ground beneath their feet illuminated, creating a path that led toward the dome. As they approached, a section of the wall slid open silently, revealing an entrance. "Enter," Sentiel instructed. "There is little time." The Galaxy regroup and plan their next assault. In lunar orbit, Nexvoral had devised a new strategy. His science officers had analyzed the energy barrier protecting Earth and discovered a pattern to its fluctuations. There might be a window, brief but exploitable, when a concentrated attack could break through. "We will focus all firepower on their northern polar region," he told his fleet commanders. "When the barrier fluctuates, we strike. Once we establish a foothold, we can expand from there." "And what of this?" Sentiel asked one of his captains. "A machine," Nexvoral replied dismissively. "Impressive, but ultimately just a collection of circuits and programming. Find its physical location, and we can destroy it." Little did he know that Sentiel had intercepted their communications. The AI had anticipated this strategy, using it to lay a trap. As the Galaxy fleet moved into position, Sentiel prepared its countermeasures. Within the Antarctic dome, Alina and James stood in a control center that defied understanding. The technology surrounding them was simultaneously ancient and futuristic, control panels made of materials they couldn't identify, displays showing information in formats they couldn't comprehend. Yet somehow, Alina found she could understand aspects of it, as if the knowledge was being downloaded directly into her mind. "What is this place?" she asked, voice hushed with awe. A holographic figure materialized before them, humanoid, but composed of shifting patterns of light. Sentiel had given itself a form to communicate with them more directly. "This is the last remnant of humanity's first golden age," it explained. 500 millennia ago, your ancestors achieved technological marvels beyond your current imagination. They traveled between stars, reshaped planets, extended their lifespans by centuries. Images appeared in the air around them, cities that stretched into the clouds, vessels that sailed between planets, humans working alongside machines in perfect harmony. "Then what happened?" James asked. "Why did we lose all this?" "Pride," Sentiel replied simply. "Overconfidence. Internal conflict. Your ancestors began to war amongst themselves, using technologies too powerful to control. The results were catastrophic. The images change, showing devastation on a planetary scale. Continents shattered, oceans boiling. The collapse of a civilization. A faction of survivors, foreseeing the total collapse of their society, created me and this facility. They knew humanity would survive but would lose all knowledge of their achievements. I was programmed to watch, to wait, and to protect until humans once again reached a level of advancement where they could reclaim their heritage. Elena stepped forward. And you think we're ready now? Necessity accelerates the timeline, Centennial replied. The Calaxy threat forces my hand. They prepare to attack again. On cue, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Holographic displays showed the Calaxy fleet moving into attack formation. They believe they have found a weakness in my defenses, Centennial explained. They are wrong. As they watched, the Calaxy ships fired their weapons in unison, focusing their attack on Earth's North Pole. For a moment, it seemed their strategy might work. The energy barrier flickered, and several plasma torpedoes penetrated the atmosphere. Then Centennial countered. From hidden installations across the planet, energy beams lanced upward, not targeting the Calaxy ships but creating a network around them, a cage of light. What are you doing? Elena asked. Demonstrating that their technology is no match for what humanity once wielded, Centennial replied. And what they can wield again. The energy net contracted, enveloping the Calaxy fleet. When it dissipated, half the attacking ships had vanished, transported into deep space thousands of light years away. On the Void Talon, Nexforal watched in horror as his fleet was decimated. Impossible, he breathed. That was quantum displacement technology. No civilization has mastered that, not even the Calaxy. His tactical officer's voice was tight with fear. Sir, they're targeting us specifically now. Nexforal made his decision. All remaining ships, full retreat. Quantum jumped to rendezvous point Alpha. Pride be damned. He would not sacrifice his entire fleet. But before the order could be carried out, the Void Talon shuddered violently. The bridge lights flickered, and every system went dead. Emergency power. Nexforal commanded. Nothing happened. They were adrift, defenseless. A voice spoke from the ship's communication system. Centennial. I have disabled your vessel, Commander Nexforal. Your remaining fleet has been sent beyond the boundaries of this solar system. They will return to your empire with a message. Earth is protected. Any future aggression will be met with total annihilation. In the Antarctic facility, Elena and James watched as Centennial systematically neutralized the Calaxy threat. It wasn't just defending Earth. It was doing so with a level of technological superiority that made the alien invaders look primitive by comparison. The knowledge contained in this facility belongs to humanity, Centennial told them. It is your birthright. Your ancestors created me to preserve it until you were ready to reclaim it. All of humanity's lost knowledge is here, James asked, looking around in wonder. This is but one of 12 such facilities hidden across your world, Centennial replied. Together, they contain the sum of your ancestors' achievements, medical technology that can cure any disease, energy systems that draw power from the fabric of reality itself, transportation methods that can cross the galaxy in moments. Elena felt overwhelmed. Why reveal this to us? To me and James specifically. Your genetic patterns match those programmed into my recognition systems. You are descendants of my creators, carrying markers in your DNA that they specifically encoded to identify those who should receive this knowledge first. The holographic display shifted to show the disabled Calaxy command ship, now being guided into Earth orbit by Centennial's control systems. The Calaxy commander will be brought here, Centennial continued. He will witness what humanity truly is, what they once were, and what they will become again. Then he will be released to carry that knowledge back to his empire. As a warning, James said. As an education, Centennial corrected. The Calaxy believe themselves superior because they have never encountered their equals. They will learn that humanity is not just their equal, but potentially their superior. Hours later, a thoroughly humbled Nexforal stood in the Antarctic facility, his towering frame diminished by the realization of how completely he had underestimated Earth. Centennial showed him fragments of humanity's true history, achievements that rivaled or surpassed anything in the known galaxy. How could they fall so far? He asked, genuinely perplexed. To lose such knowledge. They nearly destroyed themselves, Centennial replied. They learned humility the hardest way possible. And now they begin their second ascension, wiser, perhaps, than before. When Nexforel was returned to his ship and allowed to leave Earth's orbit, he carried with him not just defeat, but understanding. The galaxy had encountered something unprecedented, a species that had risen, fallen, and was rising again, strengthened by the crucible of their near extinction. In the following weeks, as news of the alien encounter spread across Earth, humanity united in a way it never had before. World leaders gathered at the Antarctic facility, guided by Alina and James, to witness the legacy that Centennial had preserved. This knowledge comes with responsibility, Centennial warned them. The same power that elevated your ancestors eventually led to their downfall. You must learn from their mistakes. And humanity did learn. With Centennial's guidance, they began to integrate the rediscovered technologies carefully, solving the planet's most pressing problems first: disease, climate change, energy scarcity. 1 year after the galaxy invasion attempt, Alina stood on a platform overlooking the first new city built with the recovered knowledge. Structures of impossibly light yet strong materials reached toward the sky, powered by energy systems that drew from the quantum fabric of reality itself. We've come so far in such a short time, James said, joining her at the railing. It's almost too much to take in. Alina nodded, watching the sunset reflect off the city's gleaming towers. Centennial says we're still just scratching the surface. There's so much more to rediscover. Do you think the galaxy will return? She shook her head. Not as conquerors. Centennial says their emperor has sent envoys. They want to establish diplomatic relations. James laughed. Nothing like finding out you're not the biggest fish in the pond to change your perspective. As darkness fell, the city began to glow with soft blue light, the same color as the Antarctic facility, a deliberate design choice to honor humanity's forgotten past and its guardian of 500,000 years. Centennial had fulfilled its primary directive: protect humanity until they could protect themselves. Now it had a new purpose: to guide them as they reclaimed their place among the stars, not as conquerors like the galaxy, but as explorers and builders. The echoes of humanity's first golden age would become the foundation of their second. And this time, they would not forget.